The continuum cannot just be considered as the polarization of concepts, but concepts or aspects of the concepts rather exist on the continuum. So it might be that your minimalist view of a particular concept will be informed by a maximalist understanding in an integrated fashion. So the minimalist and the maximalist are never separated, they are always integrated. So the integration of concepts on that maximalist continuum is, for me, important, and most importantly for me, that one has to move from the minimalist to the maximalist, otherwise you will be steeped into parochialism. So that is my argument. Now what I'm saying, did I see if I did it? I didn't do it. I can put it up. It's in a different slide, but it's okay. What I'm saying, at the real minimalist level of Islamic education, and there are only 3 words which are used in the entire literature of Islamic education for the concept. The one is rearing, tarbiyah, the other one is ta'lim, learning, and the other one is ta'leem, good action. Now if you take those 3 particular concepts, they themselves cannot be used separately, they are intertwined. Inasmuch as there have been advocates of the concepts since 1977, when the first World Conference on Islamic Education was held, the argument was made that tarbiyah or rearing or good action, you can either choose between one of the 2 concepts. And my position is that it might not be necessary to make a choice, because these concepts actually are integrated. So departing from that particular view where you want to look at concepts as if they have very little to do with one another, you can rather look at the way these concepts are interrelated, and it might give you a more nuanced understanding of Islamic education. So what I'm saying, that at a strict minimalist level, you would associate rearing with indoctrination, with doctrinal learning. So someone might learn how to acquire knowledge of the rituals of Islam without any understanding, but that might not be problematic at all, because for a particular level of learning, it might be good to, in your later life, draw upon those very concepts. So what I'm saying, I'm not discounting the fact that rote learning is important, but what I'm saying is that rote learning is not sufficient. And it happened that learning can be associated with memorization. Anecdotally speaking, I myself was subjected to memorization, and throughout your learning of Islamic concepts and verses and phrases of the Quran and chapters, you have to memorize. And that in itself is not wrong. But when the focus only becomes embedded in memorization, then there might be a potential problem. So a minimalist understanding of Islamic education would be primarily associated with doctrinal thinking, rote learning, the learning of concepts without understanding, and of course, doing good can be where you are doing good and you are biased towards your particular, what you consider to be homogeneous Islamic or Muslim community. But if you look at those 3 very concepts in a maximalist way, you would say, but rote learning is not sufficient, or rearing in the doctrinal sense might require some form of criticality, some form of interrogation, where you take concepts into controversy, into systematic controversy. And what you also do is then to argue that memorization is not sufficient. Learning cannot just be about self-learning. It cannot just be about the independent self-acquisition of facts. Learning is also about subjecting what we know to public deliberation. So it takes on a different form. And good action cannot also be biased towards a Muslim community, because that would be denying that you can actually look at others quite in a cosmopolitan society and then demand justice for all, irrespective of who you are. But those interpretations depend on how you actually integrate the minimalists and the maximalists. And as I said previously, I am biased towards the maximalists, but I'm not discounting that minimalism might be necessary at times. So what I'm doing here is I'm suggesting that these three particular concepts, which are crucial for the advancement of justice, whether ijtihad, whether shura, and whether ta'aruf, those concepts are in fact concepts which are not incommensurable with democratic citizenship education. And that's the move that I want to make now. I want to show that how those three concepts are actually in tune with an understanding of a liberal conception of democratic citizenship education. So let me make that particular move. Now, why do I say that the rationale for democratic citizenship education is the attainment of responsible action? Now, at the conceptual level, one might argue that if the rationale for Islamic education is the achievement of justice and doing of just action, and you want to say that democratic citizenship education is aimed at achieving responsibility or responsible action, are they not different? Well, the move I'm making is to say, but to learn what it means to be responsible is in fact an exercise of performing justice. So at the level of the raison d'etre of Islamic education and democratic citizenship education, I would argue that they are actually similar. So to make a claim that Islamic education is aimed at achieving justice and democratic citizenship education is associated with the achievement of this neo-Aristotelian idea of something has to be achieved in terms of a morally worthwhile activity, they are similar. I cannot see how achieving justice can be delinked from achieving something which is morally worthwhile, which to me can go both ways. It can be considered as a neo-Aristotelian idea, and there were many Islamic scholars like Ibn Sina, for instance, who was a neo-Aristotelian and argued for the very idea that the achievement of good action is concomitantly linked to the notion of enacting your responsibility. So it might not be that the two rationales are dissimilar and it will lead to a conflict of interest or an incommensurability of understanding. So what I'm saying is that democratic citizenship education cannot be delinked from Islamic education because they are actually geared towards achieving similar outcomes or similar ends or similar values associated with education. And my argument would be that responsibility cannot be delinked from justice and vice versa, and therefore the two concepts at the conceptual level must be intertwined. So I've made my bold move to argue that Islamic education and democratic citizenship education are not the same, but they are intertwined. Now, I'll go a bit slowly. The idea of autonomous action, when you apply the mind and express